Have you ever seen a squirrel running through the backyard with a nut in its mouth and assumed it was simply looking for food? It seems like such an ordinary sight, so ordinary that most people barely notice it. But what happens after that squirrel disappears among the trees is far stranger than it appears. While you're looking at a quiet backyard, a future forest may already be beginning to grow. And the most surprising part? It may be happening because of a mistake. A mistake repeated millions of times. You may have lived alongside it for years without ever realizing it. Because every day, in parks, backyards, gardens, and forests, squirrels bury seeds, acorns, and nuts in hundreds of different hiding places. But some of those hidden treasures are never recovered. And that's where one of nature's most remarkable stories begins. Most people think squirrels are simply food hoarders, small animals busy trying to survive the winter. And that's true. But only partly. The reality is far more interesting. Without meaning to, squirrels help build entire forests. They spread trees across large distances. They transport seeds to places those seeds could never reach on their own. And they do it without any intention of planting anything at all. What looks like a simple act of forgetfulness ends up creating a massive transformation across the landscape. In this video, you'll discover how an ordinary squirrel behavior helps create new trees, why squirrels hide more food than they can ever recover, and how this quiet process has been shaping forests for thousands of years. And once you understand it, you'll never look at a squirrel the same way again. Before we continue, if you enjoy discovering the hidden secrets of nature happening right outside your door, make sure to subscribe, because here we explore wildlife in ways most people never do. Number 1. Squirrels hide far more food than they can actually eat. The detail that almost nobody notices is that squirrels don't store just a few pieces of food. During certain times of the year, especially in autumn, a single squirrel may hide hundreds or even thousands of seeds and nuts. If you have trees near your home, you've probably seen one digging small holes in the lawn, garden, or near a fence. At that moment, it's building a food reserve for the future. This behavior is part of a survival strategy. Winter can be long, food can become scarce, and every hidden cache increases the squirrel's chances of making it through the season. But there's a problem. The more hiding places a squirrel creates, the more likely it is to forget some of them. And this is where the story becomes fascinating. Squirrels have remarkably good memories. They can remember many cache locations using trees, rocks, branches, and other landmarks as reference points. Even so, they don't find everything. Some seeds simply remain buried, and that's where something much bigger begins. But this still isn't the most surprising part. Number 2, their forgetfulness creates opportunities for trees. Imagine an acorn buried a few inches beneath the soil. It's protected from harsh sunlight, protected from strong winds, protected from many animals, and placed in a location with enough moisture to germinate. Without realizing it, the squirrel has positioned that seed in nearly perfect growing conditions. What seems like a mistake becomes an opportunity. When spring arrives, some of those forgotten seeds begin to sprout. First comes a tiny root, then a small shoot. And little by little, a new tree begins its journey. Oak trees, walnut trees, and many other species depend heavily on this process. In some regions, a large percentage of existing trees began exactly this way. Not because a person planted them, but because a squirrel forgot them. And perhaps that's already happening near your home. Maybe a tree you pass every day started its life because of a forgotten squirrel cache decades ago. But there's another reason this happens on such a massive scale. Number 3. Squirrels spread seeds across enormous distances. When a seed simply falls beneath its parent tree, it faces a major challenge: competition. Many young plants will be fighting for the same resources: sunlight, water, Space. That's why spreading seeds farther away increases their chances of survival. And that's exactly what squirrels do. They carry food to different locations, sometimes across entire backyards, sometimes across parks, neighborhoods, and woodlands. The result is a natural transportation system. An oak tree may produce thousands of acorns, but squirrels help distribute those acorns throughout the environment. The next detail is something most people completely overlook. When you see a squirrel racing through your yard, it may not just be carrying food, it may be carrying the future of a forest. Now comes the part that changes how you see these animals forever. Number 4. Some squirrels actually trick other squirrels. Competition for food can be intense, and many squirrels watch where others hide their supplies. Because of this, certain squirrel species have developed an unusual behavior. When they realize another squirrel is watching, they sometimes pretend to bury food. They dig. They make the motions of hiding something. They cover the spot. And then they leave. But the nut is still with them. It's a clever strategy designed to confuse potential thieves. What seems like simple intelligence reveals something much deeper. These animals are constantly assessing risks, watching their surroundings, making decisions, adjusting their behavior. And once you understand that, squirrel behavior starts to make a lot more sense. But even with all of these strategies, many caches are still forgotten. And those forgotten caches are exactly what keep the cycle going. Number 5. Entire forests depend on this mistake. When we think about forests, we usually imagine rain, fertile soil, and towering trees. But we rarely think about the small animals that helped create those forests. The truth is that squirrels are accidental gardeners. They don't intend to plant trees. They don't work for the forest. They don't even know they're helping the environment. Yet their behavior produces exactly that result. Year after year, generation after generation, thousands of seeds are buried, thousands are forgotten, and some of them grow. The results become visible decades later. Massive trees, woodlands, green corridors, shelter for birds, protection for insects, food for countless other animals. Everything connected. But here's the most interesting part. A single tree creates benefits that spread throughout an entire ecosystem. It provides shade, helps conserve water, protects the soil, produces oxygen, creates shelter. And all of that may have started with a small squirrel running across a backyard. What seems like a simple, everyday behavior can trigger enormous consequences. And perhaps the most incredible part is that this process is still happening right now. While you're watching this video, while you're looking out into your yard, while you're walking through a tree-lined street, some squirrel is probably burying a seed somewhere. Maybe it will return for it. Maybe it won't. And if it doesn't, a new story may be about to begin. From now on, when you see a squirrel disappear into the trees, you may no longer see just an animal searching for food. You may see a silent participant in a process that has been shaping forests for thousands of years. A process that helps renew entire ecosystems. What looks like forgetfulness may actually be renewal. What looks like a mistake may be one of nature's most important tools. And that completely changes the way you look at your backyard. Because nature rarely works alone. Everything is connected. Trees feed squirrels. Squirrels spread trees. Trees provide shelter for birds. Birds spread other seeds. And the cycle continues. You've lived beside this process for years. Now, finally, you know what to look for. Tell me in the comments, have you ever seen a squirrel burying food in your backyard, garden, or favorite park? And what happened afterward? I'd love to hear your story. I read the comments. And I'll see you in the next video.